Hello everyone, welcome to Newsflash. Here's what we got for you today. On the show today, we have this. What could hold back a Democratic blue wave? Well, we'll find out because it could very well be taking effect in places across the country. Is the blue wave in trouble? Well, yes. We are going to tell you why. John Bolton's crazy meeting in Russia, Barack Obama's questionable midterm comments, early voting in the midterms is another thing we'll cover, and also Brian Kemp was caught on tape warning his donors about black voting again, and Megyn Kelly got a little bit in trouble for being a little bit racist. Like, her newest thing is, blackface, what's the big deal, right? All right, we got a great show for you today, so thank you for joining us here today. We got a 1-2 punch story for you here today, and it is it's very exciting that we got this all coming for you today. Actually, we have to kill one of those stories. I'm going to kill the story about Brian Kemp, but we are going to get right into it. So, sitting at her pumpkin-decorated dining room table, a news story in the New York Times begins, Kristen Donnelly was taking off topical concerns. Pay equity for women, gun control, anti-immigrant sentiment. Her husband of 5 years has a green card, so she has deep kind of immigrant ties. As an independent co-chair of the local chamber's Women in Business Committee, Donnelly is a kind of educated, affluent suburban woman whom Democrats are counting on to fuel a blue wave in November's elections and sweep away the Republican majority in the House of Representatives. Except that Donnelly plans to vote for Brian Fitzpatrick, the Republican congressman who represents Pennsylvania's closely contested 1st District on the north side of Philadelphia. So yeah, Pennsylvania's first. It's going to be a very interesting situation because it's an urban area, and these are the things. If we don't win the House, it's going to be a very important. It's going to be a very important situation. Bob Brady is a Democrat in Philadelphia right now, but yeah, so it's currently represented by Robert Brady, but I do believe there is a challenger. Yeah, Brian Fitzpatrick, and the new. Brian Fitzpatrick is, I think, there's something weird happening with redistricting in 2018 that shaped it up a little bit weird, but yeah, he's definitely on the moderate side, Donnelly said, praising support for the nuclear family, the police department, and the idea that America as a nation is good and we continue to protect the American experiment as it stands, which seems like a little bit weird because, like, I mean, I don't know if I disagree. I don't know if I agree with that statement, but someone like, whatever that guy's name is, Brian Fitzpatrick, he seems a little bit sketchy to me. Like, something about him, it just doesn't seem right because I have a firmly held belief there are no moderate Republicans. There just are no moderate Republicans at all whatsoever. Like, they're going to vote for. They'll all come together on the most important issues that actually affect you in the end. With 2 weeks until the election, Republican leaders and President Trump are increasingly bullish about Republican voters and moderate independents rallying behind the party's candidates rather than taking a chance on Democratic challenger or a Democratic-controlled House. Healthy economy, Justice Kavanaugh's confirmation fight, and most recently, Trump's warning about baseless charges about a migrant caravan threatening the border have energized supporters at candidates and at rallies and candidates forums. Yeah, and I mean, that's why I said yesterday, like, there is no way this candidate is good for the Democrats because this is only because Trump, this is a gift. This is a big, fat, hot potato floating right in front of the Republicans, and they're just going to come through and hit it with a baseball bat and it's just going to splatter fear and hate over all their supporters because, like, imagine, like, all the people. Like, imagine the image you can have in these people's mind. You can paint them in these people's mind. And it's not that hard. Like, all the people that Trump supporters fear and hate most. ISIS terrorists, immigrants, especially those from Mexico, all coming towards the border, marching towards the border, like Camp of the Saints, the book that they all love, the book that Steve Bannon loves, the book that all Trump's supporters love that's incredibly racist. and all that stuff. So, like, this is their main idea of hell and complete and total fear, and it's very disturbing that they view it that way. And it's like this is pretty much their worst nightmare. And if they don't go out and vote, I mean, you could have Democrats who are going to welcome it in open arms, and Republicans who are just going to build the wall and stop them. Like that's what the plan is. It's very disturbing. This whole thing about the migrant caravan, which is it's very chilling, that to think of who's getting motivated over this. So while Democrats remain favored to pick up House seats in the November 6th midterms, which historically produced losses for a president's party. I mean, we're back to that. Really, we're back to that. They're just going to win because they pick up, because it's always been, it started off as being, if you remember the media coverage, it started off being like, well, the president's party always loses seats during the midterms. It's going to happen. Like, the Democrats are going to pick up some. And then it was, Democrats are going to pick up a lot. It's going to be huge blue wave. Oh my gosh, you have to. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a massive blue wave. You can't even stop about it. But now we're back to the point where, I mean, they may pick up some. The president's party usually loses seats. It's kind of been a cycle of up, down. It feels like we've already had the blue wave, and it's fallen down a little bit before the midterm elections and the way the media narrative has been. And I mean, the media, like, they're not just making this up. If you're really wondering here, like, there is real justification behind it, and it's very disturbing. That some people could actually get complacent over this, and it's definitely going to fight complacency, and that is one of the main reasons, again, why we're doing the segment now. But still, there's definitely some reason to be worried, and there's super reason to go out and vote, everybody. Okay. In many neighborhoods with key House races, daily life is pretty good. Unemployment is at a 5-decade low. Confidence spilling over among consumers and businesses. The economy is on track to grow at its fastest pace in years. Those developments benefit people whom Democrats have targeted too. Women in upscale, right-of-center, white suburbs where Hillary Clinton edged out a victory. Trump voters struggling in rural and industrial areas with deeper Democratic roots. And minorities in racially diverse metro areas. While the president looms large over this election, drawing out both opponents and supporters, local issues like school funding or mining are in the forefront of some races. In others, Republican incumbents' blend of personality and policy positions have won over independents and moderates because, I mean, it is very weird that we see some people going moderate just based on the way the Republican Party has gone so far to the right. Just keep on chugging to the right wing. And the left has been just dragging behind them, really, for a long portion of the time until this year when Bernie Sanders and his people, thank God, have pulled them back a little bit. But in recent months, New York Times interviewed dozens of voters in battleground districts and spoke at length with three of them about the nuances of the races in their areas, how politics affected their lives, and their views and concerns about the midterms. These voters had a history of crossing party lines in their districts, one in Pennsylvania, one in Minnesota, one in California, and they all discussed about that. That should be interesting to come and read. So it was very interesting to see these people all come in and talk about it. There's mining races. There's more, and I mean, some people are drifting away from the Democratic Party, and it'll be very interesting to see how this all turns out in November. It's 2 weeks from last night. 2 weeks from last night. Now less than 2 weeks away. We'll be there in a fortnight, folks. To get to that point, it's going to be pretty incredible. All right, so we have another very interesting meeting today that took place. John Bolton and Russia in Moscow. So during a meeting in Moscow, National Security Advisor John Bolton told Russian officials that the Russian government's meddling in the 2016 election had hardly any real effect, according to Reuters. Bolton played down the consequences of the alleged interference. They had told their Russian colleagues that their meddling in our election process had hardly any real effect. Radio station Echo Mosky quoted him saying on a visit to Moscow, but the important thing is the desire for interfering in our affairs itself arouses distrust in Russia, in Russian people, in Russia. I think that should not be tolerated. It should not be acceptable. It's a little weird. Why would it make distrust in our people? Why would it make distrust in Russian people? It would make distrust of Russia. It just doesn't make any sense. Why do we care about Russian people? I don't think they're very. It's all about the Russian government here. I think that's what's about. So this is a pretty weird thing. Again, for a national security advisor to say. Bolton adds that the bit about it not being acceptable, which I guess it's okay. He says it's not acceptable. He said it's awful, but still, it's bad for a country to compromise the integrity of another's country election cycle through targeted disinformation and cyber crimes. The U.S. also does it, but it's, again, still bad. I don't know, we haven't really done it in a while, and if we do it so much, I think we should be better defending it. Come on, guys, but still, we still do it, and that's the truth, and that's something everyone's going to have to kind of get behind to understand. It's also very strange, again, for John Bolton, who has never met a war he didn't like, and that comes with other countries or with people in the White House. And that includes people like John Kelly. He's a big fighter. He's not very good to work with. He's letting what he's doing here is really, he's letting a foreign power off the hook, which is very, very strange, to say the least. Meanwhile, last week, the U.S. filed the first charges against Russian citizens accused of meddling in the 2018 midterms. So, there's that. We already rolling along quite quickly. So this is the point of this is the face of our government representing the situation. Before we had Obama, he wasn't so bad, although he wasn't very quick to really do anything. But now we have John Bolton, who is completely unreliable. We have Donald Trump, who's completely unreliable because the Russians are actually, again, meddling to help him, which we know, and that's very disturbing. And the fact is, we are going to continue to see them do that. And yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know if I like this. Because you just don't know how they're going to respond. If something really serious happens, something really serious is revealed, we just don't know how it's going to turn out. We really do not know. It's a very disturbing situation because when you don't know how your government is going to respond to real attacks on the election, it's very, very strange. All right, we have a lot more to get to here today, and so we are getting right into the story. New today is that millions have voted early in the midterms, and what it means and what it doesn't so far for the midterms elections. People want to get this voting thing out of the way, and we all know. And before I get anything into the story, we're gonna find out more about what it means in a moment. So I just want to say about this whole midterm election voting thing. We all know. We all hear it's such a big deal, and I do remember this talk in 2016 because I was there for it. I remember so many people were up in the early voting. Hillary Clinton was in the early voting. Don't take the early voting results into too much account. That's all I'm saying. Just don't do it because it happened last year, or it happened last time, and it was not very good. We didn't get the result we wanted was not entirely there. Yeah, so early voting for the midterm election has begun in states across the country, and enthusiasm and voter turnout both appear to be high, with hundreds of thousands of mail-in ballots arriving in Florida. It's pretty cool. Yeah, hundreds of thousands there. Damn. Arriving in Florida, and voters lining up around the block in Texas. Turnout has surged among Republicans, Democrats, and independents, according to poll data. As of Tuesday afternoon, more than 7 million people had voted early, according to data compiled by Michael McDonald, a professor of political science at the University of Florida who studies elections. If these patterns persist, we could see a turnout rate at least equaling the turnout rate in 1966, which was 48%. And if we beat that, then